You clicked on my ASMR Katz channel, and I will speak about different emotions from A to Z in my ASMR Katz ASMR alphabet series here now. In this episode, we talk about the letter S for shame. ASMR Katz. Make sure that you have your headphones in for the best quality, and also to check out all the other videos I have in stock for you. Shame. When I think about shame, I am very, very happy that I'm not that much ashamed anymore, and I never was much ashamed at all. Why is that so? In my childhood, I grew up with a sauna in my house. So my full family was always going in the sauna and had also no shame to be naked. I would say this was something that really helped me in my childhood already to overcome the feeling of shame. I remember that for me it was always so normal, but then when I spoke with friends and told them, yeah, we have a sauna at home and we like to go in there and chill, everyone was like, you are naked in front of your parents and your family? And I'm like, yeah, where's the problem? And so I recognized that people most of the time are ashamed of that. And I know that even so, when I came in the phase of being a teenie, I was not that much ashamed of my naked body. So there is this shame you have, for example, to show yourself naked. But there are also different kind of shames. Emotional shame. So, for example, when I have a fight and the fight runs kind of out of control and I behave like I don't want to behave, I always feel ashamed after, because I don't want it to behave like this, getting louder or saying words I don't meant to say. So this shame is also something very emotionally, and I have to say that I'm happy to have this shame, because with this shame I see myself and I can grow on it. I know, hey, in that moment I'm just not the best version of myself, so I am very ashamed and I'm sorry, and I really try next time to make it better. Even so, it is very hard to make it better sometimes. And then there are another shames. Shame, for example, when you don't want to buy food that is almost out of expire because it's cheaper. What is very funny. So let me tell you a little story. I am absolutely pro of getting stuff out of the trash. I know. In some countries it's very hot and it's disgusting, but some supermarkets throw so much food away what is short before, not like out of date, but is not yet. And I understand that in the hot summer days you shouldn't get this almost out of expired food out of the trash, but in the winter, or for example when it's something very good, you also can give to feed animals or to like make something nice out of it. I don't understand why there is a shame about it to take it. For sure, it's forbidden, like where I live, it's legally forbidden to do that and to dumpster dive. But it's not about this, what I want to say. What I want to say is that some supermarkets have now the almost out of expire stuff in a own box where it's a little bit more cheaper. The same for fruits and vegetables. And I see that there are people so ashamed to take it, they would rather let it go out of expire and throw away instead of taking it and saving it for the dumpster. Because, and this is my own opinion, okay, I for sure understand the beauty behind being a vegetarian or being a vegan. But I know that when the meat is already there and it's almost expired, and then the animal, it died anyway, there's nothing anymore to change, and it lands in the dumpster, so it lived and died and no one eat it anyway, then I actually have to say, this is also something you have to consider as a lifestyle for yourself when you're already vegan or vegetarian, or when you already think a little bit more about food, that it's also very important to save food, and that the food there is not get into the trash, because we could live from this. And I know that so many people are so ashamed to take the out of expired stuff. They also don't like to buy the more cheaper stuff because they are just ashamed that someone look at it and see it. And I don't understand why it is so. Why this kind of shame is actually happening in our society. Then there's shame you also could feel for someone else. Sometimes. When someone else making a mistake, you feel ashamed for this other person. And this is a shame that have nothing to do with you. But most of the time, this kind of shame really helps you to see your own faults or your own not so good aspects where you have to change. And therefore, I think shame is so a very important emotion to feel. In my life, I learned that shame is almost like fear and holds people in a crazy way back to show who they really are. And I'm very happy that I had the confidence and that I learned very fast to not be ashamed of who I am and who I like to be. And that I know that when I am very open with myself and honest, I lose people around me who absolutely don't understand why I am like this. But I know exactly that it's a very important thing to do, to stand up for yourself and then overcome the shame of showing it. So I know that I was around a lot of people in society who was not able to show their real, true selves to the outside world because they were so ashamed. And when I digged deeper and tried to understand why it is that way, I was always very shocked and sad that this is what the society did to them. For example, when you see the difference between women and men, you see also the different level of shames. So, a woman, for example, a lot of times say, "Oh, I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry that I did this." It's constantly saying, "I'm sorry." And this comes also out of a shame. And I don't understand why we have that feeling shameful and guilty. And I know that, for example, men, they are also a lot ashamed, but often they not want to talk about it. What is also absolutely weird, because I would say men never, not much of them learned about speaking about their feelings, and also let the feelings be there and accept them in the way they are. So shame really comes in different forms, and therefore it's so crazy to see that how beautiful it can be when you overcome the shame. And I have to say, in the World Wide Web world, there are a lot of people being whatever they want to be, if it's in a good way or in a bad way. But with the anonymity of the internet, they have the opportunity to be whatever they want in any kind of way. So they are hiding behind the keyboards, trolling around. There is actually no shame involved. It is actually the opposite. Most of the time they go so inappropriate against others that it is very, very bad and very, very sad that they are not ashamed and maybe say, that's not a side I want to have on me. But for some, it really helps to let their own problems go. Why we humans are so guided through the problem of shame. Why we are so guided that the fear and shame is so close together, that we are fear to do something and then feel so much shame when we would do that we actually don't do it. I'm sorry that I yawned the full time. It is just so relaxing to sit here and speak about this topic in this ASMR style. For me, it has the same effect than for you. So how we would be able to overcome shame? What would be the key ingredients to overcome it? Do you have an idea? Is there something what really helped you to overcome the shame? Feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm very curious. So for me to overcome shame, just to do it. And I am very, very happy that with my confidence I was able to don't look left or right. And I also have to say that I also had very good teachers who showed me to don't be ashamed for anything. I remember that when I started to make photo shootings, I had a friend who always made the most craziest poses and was so in the element, and I always was sitting there like, wow. When I see it myself and would do it myself, I would be ashamed to do it, but she did it with such a confidence that it was for me amazing to see. And I was thinking, it's absolutely right to don't be ashamed when you are 100% standing behind it. So I think a very important thing to do is to be 100% behind that, where others could be ashamed, but you not. So when you stand up for really what your heart desires, then there shouldn't be much of shame. And it's also an amazing feeling to overcome shame. It is so good for the heart and so good for the feeling to just don't be that ashamed. Because it takes so much time away in that thought, should I, would I, could I, I'm not secure enough, I feel so insecure, what would the others think, how could it be, how should it look. There are so many thoughts you can poison your mind with, and when you would do one thing, then after you can always say, oh, it was not the right thing to do, or I feel not good with it anymore, but in this time I did, and as long as you hurt nobody with it, you also shouldn't be ashamed. And there I found the beauty in the World Wide Web, I have to say, because I see so many people living out and trying out whoever they want to be or not to be, but it's so simple actually, because it doesn't hurt anyone. It just don't. And now with the time of TikTok, for example, where you can even decide if you want to be a he or she or it, they, them, you can be anything you want and can try it out and can see what your true self is beating for. And that is something I'm really happy to have now. In the past there was this different subcultures like punk, emo, goth. It's still there, but not that visible anymore. Now it's the freedom to create yourself in the World Wide Web with all the good and bad aspects of it. And when you even not shy enough to show your eyes, show who you are and stand behind it, you can give even more people the joy of overcome their boundaries and stay behind what they love too. And that is something so amazing, I have to say. And I really hope that everyone is at least open enough to think about if that would be something what they also would like to do. As soon as I learned to let the shame behind me and just feel very confident within myself, I for sure had one or other mistakes where I was in the after very ashamed, but to see this where you are ashamed about, for example, when I started to make pictures, I was 17, and for sure I had like photo shootings what turned out not so good, and I see my face impressions and I see my posing, and I was absolutely ashamed. But the pictures still there, and they gave me the best view of how to pose better, how to feel comfortable, what I exactly want to myself and want to see in myself. So to be in that state of shame is important to grow, and everyone who goes shame out of the way to just don't feel it would not be able to grow. And therefore it is so unbelievable important to overcome this fear of shame and to just do it no matter what, as long as you hurt no one else. And which path it is, which way you want to go, you can decide yourself, but not letting shame or fear being the main emotions in your life, and really turn your full mindset into something way, way nicer with way better emotions. You will be more able to overcome this problem of shame. And I also know that it's not always easy, but sometimes you also just need to let it happen, let go from it, and overcome it. And sometimes when it's so shameful and takes a long, long time, it's also very good to have it in your heart and to say, okay, I am now really ashamed and I can't let go from it. And then you have to process just a little bit longer. It is fine too. There's no need in time. And it's sometimes also good to think 2 or 3 times more about it, to not become in the same situation over and over again. And sometimes when the universe just put you in the same situation over and over again, then it sometimes is also for a reason. I remember some situations where I'm in the supermarket and people speak about me like, "Boah, look at her, what she done to herself, she look like a monster." And I listen to this, I hear this, and then I needed to learn to say, hey, excuse me, I can understand you. This is not a polite thing to do, and you should let that not be a normal aspect from your life. And I really hope that no one else is speaking about you the way you speak right now to me. And then I also for sure in the beginning felt always a little bit of shame that I was standing up for myself. But in the end, I also teach the person who spoke bad about me a very important lesson, because most of the time they was way more ashamed in the end, and they never do it again in that way. And often when even people speak bad about me in front of their children, I really also need to stay there and really need to say, hey, here is a point of no return. This is your child, and when you want to teach a child one thing, then it should be not that this should be learned from you as a parent. And I think sometimes it's also really important to stand up, for sure in a very elegant way, with knowledge and thoughts, and teach that this should not be a normal thing. So sometimes shame have the right emotion. Sometimes shame is so crucial for learning that it is more important than you ever could take any value to it. And even if it hurts in the beginning, and sometimes you feel so shameful that you could like make a hole in the ground and fall inside, it is something very important we always should think about. And we always should let in our heart where we can get taught and where we can teach others with. And don't see it as this most fearful thing we just have to not get confronted with. This was now my little ASMR alphabet about the topic shame. If you already liked what you see here, make sure to check out all the other videos I have in stock for you. It is crazy how much I did. I ate food with my friends. I spoke about another philosophical topics. I read books. I try to do so much to give you a good time here and let you enjoy and relax, but also give you a little bit insight out of my life, and maybe it helps you also a little bit for yours. My name is ASMR Katz, and if you not already have subscribed, feel free to do so. And I hope that we will see us to the next Alphabet ASMR episode again. So, please always consider that shame is nothing you can avoid. There will be always shameful moments in your life, no matter the cost and how far away you try to be from that. But it is nice when the universe teaches you a lesson, even so you don't understand it in that moment maybe. But sooner or later you will look back and know exactly why you had to learn this lesson. And that way I say bye-bye and have a good time.